Tatsumi, your classic small-town anime boy. Big dreams, bigger sword, and a heart so pure it should honestly come with a handle with care warning. He left his quiet little village with his friends, with dreams of becoming a famous soldier in the capital and making a name for themselves. Apparently, nobody told this dude the capital is a straight-up evil headquarters for the worst humans ever born. The moment he steps into the capital, my guy gets scammed by the first pretty face he sees. Took his money, promised him a job, and pulled a classic "now you see me, now you broke" move. Broke and homeless, Tatsumi's luck seems to turn when a kind, noble girl, Arya, invites him to stay at her mansion. She promises to help him find his missing friends, Sayo and Ieyasu. For a hot second, it looks like things are looking up, until Night Raid, a group of assassins with a flair for dramatic entrances, kicks down the door like it's a police raid on a meth lab. These aren't your average assassins. These are elite, corruption-cleansing, sword-slinging maniacs who only kill evil scumbags. Akame, the titular assassin, moves like a shadow, her blade flashing so fast it's basically a blur. She takes down enemies before they even know what hit them. Arya tried to escape, but Akame caught up in no time. At first, Tatsumi tried to protect Arya, but it turns out Arya and her family aren't just garden-variety rich jerks. They're full-blown sociopaths who lure in country kids, torture them, and display them like twisted trophies. After Leone reveals the family's atrocities, Tatsumi's inner hero snaps after seeing his friend Sayo tortured and already dead, and Ieyasu dies in Tatsumi's arms. He slices Arya in half without a second thought, because nothing says protagonist character development like instant vigilante justice. After this absolute horror show, Night Raid recruits Tatsumi on the spot. And honestly, what else is he gonna do? Go back to the village? Bro's got nothing left. And just like that, Tatsumi goes from hopeful soldier to full-time killer for hire. And believe it or not, this was the peaceful part. Tatsumi reflected on his lost friends, Sayo and Ieyasu. But there's no time for tears because Tatsumi has a big decision. Join Night Raid, the anti-corruption assassins, or mope around the countryside. Spoiler, he chooses the path with more sword fights and less moping. He meets the full Night Raid crew. Shiel, the calm scissor wielder. Mine, the pink-haired tsundere. Bulat, the buff knight with a hairstyle straight out of a shampoo commercial. Lubbock, the resident peeping Tom. Najenda, the eye-patch-wearing boss with a mechanical arm that creaks like an old door. But before he can become a full-fledged assassin, Akame is tasked with training him. This training is basically cooking and fishing. Think Hell's Kitchen, but with more death glares and fewer Gordon Ramsay insults. Turns out, Akame's teaching him to follow orders, not just how to make a mean fish stew. Tatsumi's first real assignment is to take down Ogre, a corrupt Imperial Guard captain who frames innocents and pockets the profits. Akame and Leone handle a crooked merchant named Gamal with the efficiency of people who've done this 100 times. Blink and you'll miss it. But Tatsumi? He gets the boss battle. Tatsumi tracks Ogre to a dark alley. Ogre, who's about as subtle as a brick, doesn't buy it and immediately goes into villain monologue mode. Because what's an anime fight without a little trash talk? Ogre swings his massive sword with the confidence of someone who's never lost a fight and probably never skipped arm day. Tatsumi dodges and parries, barely keeping up, but you can see the gears turning. He's learning on the fly. Ogre taunts Tatsumi, underestimating the country boy. Tatsumi uses his speed and determination, getting in close and landing a decisive blow. In classic anime style, the killing strike is shown in slow motion, complete with dramatic music and Ogre's shocked face as he realizes he's been bested by a rookie. Tatsumi wins his first real duel, proving he's got what it takes to be part of Night Raid. Even if his sword technique still needs a little polish, and maybe a montage or two. Akame, Leone, and Najenda congratulate Tatsumi on his first successful mission. Akame even cracks a rare smile. High praise from someone who usually looks like she's plotting your demise. The episode kicks off with Night Raid dealing with some intruders who've stumbled upon their secret base. It's like a surprise party, except instead of cake, the guests get brutally dispatched. The team moves with deadly efficiency. The whole squad works seamlessly, turning the base into a no-go zone for trespassers. This opening fight sets the tone. Night Raid doesn't mess around, and their weapons are as unique as their personalities. Tatsumi's next phase of training is with Mine, the pink-haired sniper with a sharp tongue and even sharper aim. Tatsumi walked in on Mine half-dressed, and this got him almost isekai'd, even though it was literally his fault for not knocking. Their training mission is actually a shopping trip around the capital, because nothing says stealth assassin like browsing the market stalls. But it's not all fun and games. Tatsumi learns Mine's backstory. She's half foreign and grew up facing xenophobia, which explains her prickly attitude. Mine stops a young refugee girl from being bullied, then immediately tells her to toughen up and fight for herself. Tough love, Night Raid style. The mission gets serious when Night Raid targets Ioko, the head of a prostitution ring and brother to the corrupt child ruler's enforcer. Mine's weapon, Pumpkin, is a sniper rifle that grows stronger the more danger she's in. Talk about high-stakes sniping. Mine and Tatsumi face off against Ioko's guards, trained in the deadly martial art Kokenji. Tatsumi surprises everyone by using a wrestling move, a stomach lock on one of the guards, because why not mix martial arts with wrestling? Mine finishes the fight with a perfectly timed sniper shot through the chest, making her tsundere attitude even more lethal. Meanwhile, a mysterious new villain with sharp teeth and a psychotic grin shows up, hunting for Akame. He is known as Zank the Executioner, and his hobby is giving people a clean cut, except it's below the head. His Imperial arm, Spectator, is a creepy eye that reads minds, predicts moves, and projects illusions of your dead friends. Basically, a supernatural VR headset designed to ruin your day. Imperial arms. These ancient OP weapons are so broken, it's said that whenever two Imperial arm users square up, one of them's not making it home. Tatsumi tags along with Akame on a mission to off Zank, but gets tricked by an illusion of his deceased friend, Sayo. Standard horror movie logic. Tatsumi discovers he's been tricked and tries to fight back. However, he's overpowered. Things are looking bad for Tatsumi until Akame steps in, when Zank conjures Kurome. We'll get to who Kurome is in a minute. Akame hesitates briefly, but slices through the vision like a hot knife through existential dread. Meanwhile, Tatsumi serves as the audience surrogate, gawking at Zank's mind games and Akame's cold efficiency. After a long, one-sided fight, Akame lands the final blow with her sword, Murasame. Their mission's complete, for the day though. The next day, Tatsumi has a dream where his dearly departed friends tell him it's time to let go, the anime equivalent of getting ghosted by your trauma. He wakes up, still clinging to the hope that he can find a magical Imperial arm to bring them back. Because if there are killer scissors and mind-reading eyeballs, why not a resurrection stick? Bulat quickly crushes that dream with a reality check. Nope, dead means dead in this show. Tatsumi gets paired with Shield for some mentoring, and we learn she's a disaster at everything except, ironically, murder. Her flashback is a mix of slapstick and tragedy. She can't cook, clean, or even do laundry right. She once washed mine by accident, but when it comes to slicing up bad guys, she's a natural. Her first kill is her friend's abusive ex, and she dispatches his buddies like she's chopping veggies. Meanwhile, the Empire's villains are plotting, and we get our first real look at Esdeath, who makes her debut by beating up prisoners with her legs. She's got major boss vibes and instantly establishes herself as Night Raid's next big problem. On patrol, Tatsumi gets separated from Leone and runs into Seryu, a bubbly Imperial guard with a dog-shaped Imperial arm named Koro. She seems sweet, but plot twist, she's out for revenge for her mentor, Ogre, the guy Night Raid offed earlier. Tatsumi, ever the trusting soul, doesn't see the red flags waving in his face. Tatsumi and Leone tackle their latest mission, shutting down a drug-dealing brothel where women are kept high and hostage. Tatsumi's face says it all. I left my village for this? As they slice through goons like butter. Meanwhile, across town, Shield and Mine stroll back to base, blissfully unaware they're about to meet Seryu, the Empire's answer to a hyperactive vigilante with a murder dog. Seryu's Imperial arm, Koro, is a shape-shifting monstrosity. Koro transforms into a giant, jawed beast, chomping through buildings like they're dog treats. Mine's energy blasts? Useless. Koro just regenerates. After an intense fight between the three, Koro lunges at Mine. Shield blocks the attack with her scissors, like a boss, only to get shot by Seiryu mid-pose. Cue rain, dramatic music, and Koro swallowing Shield whole. The show's first major gut punch, literally. Shield's death leaves Mind screaming into the void and vowing revenge. Seiryu skips away, humming about justice because nothing says hero like feeding people to your pet abomination. Back at the base, the crew mourn their loss. Meanwhile, in a place not far away, Esdeath, the military queen Elsa, arrives in the capital, radiating, "I'm here to freeze your soul" energy. Her ice powers are still off-screen, but her aura alone could give a penguin frostbite. Night Raid is still reeling from Shield's death. Akame tries to play it cool, but even her appetite can't cover up the sadness. And let's be honest, Akame's appetite is legendary. Tatsumi, in peak Shunin fashion, promises Akame he won't die. Najenda splits the squad. Bulat and Tatsumi are sent to protect a politician on a fancy ocean liner, while Akame and Lubbock head to a village. Bulat's so sneaky in his Incursio armor that he's basically the world's most dangerous imaginary friend, with Tatsumi talking to thin air and confusing all the bodyguards. Esdeath's new henchmen, Liver, Niao, and Daidara, are on a murder spree, pinning their crimes on Night Raid to lure them out. Their plan? Crash the cruise party and make it a Titanic-level disaster, minus the romance, plus more axes. The three beasts attack the ship using a flute-like Imperial arm to knock everyone out. Tatsumi, fueled by stubbornness and maybe caffeine, manages to stay awake and faces Daidara, a musclehead whose only personality trait is loud. Tatsumi's about to get flattened when Bulat jumps in, showing off his Incursio armor and his ability to slice enemies in half, because why just win when you can win with style? Bulat's fight IQ is off the charts. He dodges, calculates, and then bisects Daidara so cleanly, the guy probably didn't realize he was dead until his legs were already clocking out for the day. Bulat then gets a suspicious amount of screen time and backstory, which is basically a flashing neon sign that says enjoy him while you can. He faces off against the last two of Esdeath's three beasts. Liver, Bulat's old mentor, now with a villainous makeover, and Niao, the cat boy with a flute. Bulat, rocking his Incursio armor, clashes with Liver, whose Imperial arm lets him control water and other liquids. Think Aquaman, but with more murder and less fish-talking. Liver tries to recruit Bulat to Esdeath's side, but Bulat's loyalty is as unshakable as his abs. The two go at it, trading blows and water blasts until both are battered and exhausted. Just as Bulat lands a killing blow, Liver reveals he's poisoned his own blood as a last-ditch defense. Bulat's victory comes at a steep price. He's fatally poisoned in the process. With Bulat dying and Niao hulking out thanks to his Imperial arm, things look grim. Bulat passes his Incursio armor to Tatsumi, giving him both a literal and emotional power-up. Tatsumi dons the plot armor, instantly becomes Night Raid's newest tank, and takes down Nia with a satisfying punch of poetic justice. Bulat dies in Tatsumi's arms, leaving behind a legacy of heroism, hair gel, and emotional trauma. Tatsumi mourns his mentor, but now he's got Incursio and a whole new set of problems. Elsewhere, Kurome, the person Zank showed Akame in the illusion, turns out to be Akame's sister. She's been recruited for a new assassin squad, setting up some sibling drama down the line. With the three beasts out of the picture, Esdeath introduces her new squad, the Jaegers. The Jaegers include Esdeath herself, the sadistic and charismatic general who commands absolute loyalty. Wave, a calm and earnest fighter resembling a Tatsumi 2.0 who struggles with his role among the Jaegers. Kurome, Akame's younger sister, whose arrival adds a complicated family dynamic. Seiryu Ubiquitous, the fanatically righteous and unhinged soldier who killed Shield. Dr. Stylish and Run, the flamboyant, brutal fighters who round out this murder rainbow. Esdeath hosts a citywide brawl to recruit new Imperial arms users, and because she's Esdeath, to hunt down Night Raid. Tatsumi enters, hoping for prize money and maybe a little revenge. Tatsumi wipes the floor with the competition, finally getting to be the overpowered shonen hero for once. He impresses the crowd and Esdeath. After the tournament, Esdeath picks Tatsumi as the one to cream her ice. She literally kidnaps him, declaring him her one true love and personal project, much to the shock of his friends watching from the stands. Tatsumi remains in the clutches of Esdeath, who's less a captor and more an overzealous, battle-hungry girlfriend with a penchant for collars. Esdeath drags Tatsumi along with the Jaegers as they raid a bandit fortress, showing off her team's powers, including Seryu's terrifying ability to turn her dog, Koro, into a literal drill by fitting its mouth, anime logic at its finest. Tatsumi gets a front-row seat to the Jaegers' brutality and unique fighting styles, all while Esdeath tries to impress him with her might makes right philosophy. After the raid, Esdeath whisks Tatsumi away for some alone time, attempting to seduce him in her room. Tatsumi, ever the shonen protagonist, resists her advances. He tries to convince her to abandon the Empire and fight for justice instead. Esdeath, however, doubles down on her survival of the fittest worldview and insists she'll be the one to change Tatsumi, not the other way around. Their philosophical and awkwardly romantic standoff ends in a stalemate, with both going to bed unsatisfied. Esdeath with her conquest, Tatsumi with his escape plan. The next day, Esdeath takes the Jaegers, including Tatsumi, on a Danger Beast hunting mission at Mount Fake. Tatsumi is paired with Wave, who is basically Tatsumi with a different haircut. The two bond a bit, but things get wild when they're ambushed by some hardwoods. Tatsumi and Wave handle the threat without using their Imperial arms, showing off their raw fighting chops. After the hardwood attack, Tatsumi tries to slip away, but Wave, fearing that Esdeath will be very unhappy, quickly catches on. Both reveal their Imperial arms, Tatsumi's Incursio and Wave's Grand Chariot, which is basically Incursio's upgraded cousin. However, Wave has no idea that Tatsumi is the wielder of Incursio. A brief but intense fight breaks out. Tatsumi, forever the good guy, tries to escape without hurting Wave, but Wave lands a heavy blow that nearly knocks Tatsumi out. Tatsumi uses Incursio's invisibility to escape into the river, battered but alive. Tatsumi is eventually rescued by Night Raid, who had been searching for him. He shares valuable intel about the Jaegers and their powers. Akame also learns the painful truth that her sister, Kurome, is now fighting for the enemy. Meanwhile, Esdeath discovers Tatsumi's escape and punishes Wave for letting her ice creamer, Tatsumi, slip away. The punishment? The anime equivalent of the world's worst timeout involving heavy bricks. Elsewhere, Dr. Stylish and his men locate Night Raid's hideout. He launches a surprise night raid on their base with an army of bizarre, superpowered minions. Leone, nursing a hangover from the previous night's celebration, is ambushed and incapacitated early by one of Stylish's assassins, setting the stage for a relentless assault on the rest of the team. Lubbock fends off a horde of Stylish's oddly dressed henchmen using his string-based Imperial arm, with backup from Akame. The minions are numerous, but mostly cannon fodder, and Akame slices through them with her usual lethal efficiency. Tatsumi faces off against a hulking enemy wielding Shiel's old giant scissors. The fight is brutal. Tatsumi's sword shatters against the enemy's defense, and he's nearly finished off until Mine arrives and obliterates the foe with her pumpkin rifle, finally avenging Shiel's death. The battle takes a turn when Negenda rides in with two new recruits. Meanwhile, Akame and Lubbock battle a mostly mechanical enemy who proves tough to kill. Lubbock uses a surprise string trap, and Akame finishes the job with a decisive slash. While Tatsumi and Mine get excited at the boss's arrival, one of Stylish's assassins launches a sneak attack, but Leone steps in just in time and beats the stuffing out of him. Stylish's men surround the team. Just as things look dire, Stylish paralyzes most of Night Raid with a poison, leaving only Tatsumi able to fight. One of the two new Night Raid members arrives, Susanoo, a human Imperial arm with regenerative abilities. He quickly saves the team by regenerating his arm and diving into the fray, showing off his spinning blade weapons and impressive power. With the battle turning against him, Dr. Stylish pulls out his trump card. He injects himself with a serum, transforming into a grotesque, monstrous danger beast. He even eats his own underlings to power up further. The team regroups and launches a coordinated attack on the monstrous Stylish. Akame, even while partially paralyzed, manages to get close enough to land the final, fatal blow, ending Stylish's reign of weird science and body horror. Night Raid emerges battered but victorious, and with two new members joining their ranks, Susanoo and Chelsea. They introduce themselves to the team. Chelsea, the red-headed, lollipop-loving master of disguise, comes with an Imperial arm that lets her transform into anything. She immediately wins over Akame by offering her a lollipop. Talk about accepting candy from strangers. Susanoo reveals his greatest skill, being the squad's ultimate domestic god. He cooks, cleans, and even builds Night Raid's new hideout in Monster Country. If assassinations don't work out, he could easily open a 5-star restaurant. Back at base, Chelsea wastes no time showing off, stealing Mine's food and trolling the team. The team trains by fighting danger beasts. Tatsumi surprises everyone by unlocking a spear move with Incursio. So much for being just a swordsman. Chelsea, never missing a chance to roast someone, points out that strength alone isn't enough and bluntly reminds them that Sheil and Bulat died because they weren't careful. Way to kill the vibe, Chelsea. Tatsumi, Mine, and Lubbock secretly plot revenge on Chelsea for her constant pranks. Tatsumi tries to sneak up on her in the hot springs using Incursio's invisibility, only to get punked. Chelsea was disguised as Susanoo the whole time. She coolly warns Tatsumi that if he tries that again, he'll lose more than just his pride. Meanwhile, Esdeath is still hopelessly pining for Tatsumi, while Seiryu mourns Dr. Stylish. Talk about losing all your mentors in a week. Elsewhere, a creepy new villain appears, someone who controls danger beasts that chow down on unlucky miners. Nearby, a couple in a cabin gets a rude midnight visit from the new breed of humanoid danger beasts. The monsters make quick work of the husband, just to remind us this show never skips leg day or trauma. Back in the capital, Minister Honest tasks Esdeath and her Jaegers with capturing some danger beasts for research. The Jaegers easily handle a group of beasts attacking travelers. Bowles does his signature burn everything move, scaring the monsters and the survivors, who now think he's the real threat. Seiryu has to awkwardly step in and explain. Meanwhile, Esdeath freezes the fleeing beasts solid, completing her mission with her usual icy flare. Back at the Night Raid base, Tatsumi trains with Susanoo. The human Imperial arm gives Tatsumi some ninja wisdom about finding enemy weak points, then casually karate chops a boulder to prove his point, because apparently even rocks have critical hit spots now. Tatsumi, impressed and mildly concerned, tries to bond with Susanoo, declaring him part of the Night Raid family. Robot or not, Najenda gathers the team and briefs them on a new threat, the danger beasts. She suggests they help protect nearby civilians, even if it means cooperating with the capital for once. The team agrees, and just as things settle, Susanoo spots something disturbing. Tatsumi's little wood had been out this entire time. So much for battle readiness. Later, Tatsumi and Lubbock head out on patrol. Lubbock gets a quick backstory moment. Turns out he's a rich kid who gave up luxury to join Night Raid for Najenda. Meanwhile, Esdeath, still hopelessly obsessed with Tatsumi, is told by Run that she could have anyone she wants. Naturally, she only wants her runaway boyfriend. And as luck or terrible timing would have it, while Tatsumi's out scouting danger beasts, Esdeath literally drops out of the sky and lands right in front of him. Tatsumi, thinking quick, tries to use the monsters as a distraction to slip away, but Esdeath wipes them out in seconds. Now he's stuck with her. After a tense and slightly awkward reunion between Esdeath and her favorite ice creamer, Crush, the moment's interrupted by Sura, the Prime Minister's sadistic son, whose Imperial arm can manipulate space and time. He teleports them both to a deserted island. Esdeath, of course, is thrilled to have Tatsumi all to herself. Tatsumi's just thrilled to be alive and not frozen solid. Hoping to escape, he tells Esdeath to hit him as hard as she can. And Esdeath, having apparently missed her Japanese context lessons, decides to oblige. The island isn't just a tropical paradise. It's crawling with two massive danger beasts. Tatsumi, eager to impress or just survive, takes one down with his sword. Not to be outdone in front of her beloved creamer, Esdeath obliterates the other one with a single meteoroid-like attack. The monsters barely get a chance to roar before their history. As they search for a way home, Esdeath treats the whole ordeal like a romantic beach date, sketching future plans in the sand, fishing, and grilling Tatsumi about his ideals. At one point, she points out they're alone on the island and can do whatever they want. Tatsumi, ever the pure-hearted shonen protagonist, uses the moment to once again try talking her out of her evil ways. But Esdeath's moral compass is permanently set to chaotic fabulous. Tatsumi finally realizes she's never going to change sides, no matter how many heartfelt speeches or smitten stares he throws her way. During their romantic island getaway, Esdeath opens up about her childhood. She grew up in a brutal, snowy northern tribe where survival meant hunting massive danger beasts and living by her father's harsh motto, "The strong survive, the weak die." Little Esdeath was raised on monster hunting, dissection lessons, and tough love. If you can call extracting glowing orbs from the entrails of giant beasts love. Her tribe's philosophy shaped her twisted worldview. And when a rival tribe wiped out her people, Esdeath doubled down on her father's beliefs. Later, she joined the Empire, and transitioning from slaying beasts to slaying humans was disturbingly easy for her. She even obtained her ice powers by drinking the blood of a powerful danger beast, an act meant to drive the drinker insane, as Esdeath puts it herself. It can't drive you insane if you already are. Shura eventually opens a portal back to civilization. Tatsumi, remembering Chelsea's advice, uses Incursio's stealth mode to slip away before Esdeath can glue herself to him again. Esdeath's disappointed, of course, but vows to keep chasing her one true love. Tatsumi, meanwhile, finally accepts that the next time they meet, it won't be as star-crossed lovers. It'll be as true enemies. Back at Night Raid HQ, the team's back in action. And this time, the target isn't some sleazy noble, it's an entire religious movement. The Revolutionary Army is launching a three-pronged assault on the capital and plans to use a popular religious group, the Path of Peace, to spark a civilian uprising. Problem is, their charismatic leader's been replaced by a government spy named Bulat, who's been drugging his followers and turning them into loyal zombie cultists. Nagenda's orders? Simple. Take Bulat out. No mercy, no sermons. Chelsea finally gets a moment to shine. She infiltrates Bulat's mansion disguised as a maid, quickly assassinates him with a poisoned pin, and then makes her escape by transforming into one of his cats. Wave and Kurome rush in too late, only finding a dead, holy man and a very smug, suspicious-looking feline. Meanwhile, Jaegers psycho-in-residence Seryu is out purging evil again, this time having her Imperial arm, the adorable yet murderous Koro, eat a gang of petty thieves. When a terrified girl begs for mercy, Seryu coldly justifies it because justice must be absolute. Wave, witnessing this, is horrified. He's starting to realize the capital's justice system is more twisted than a pretzel, but for now, he sticks with the Jaegers out of loyalty, and probably a healthy dose of fear. Night Raid's latest plan to lure out the Jaegers involves Akame, Mine, Leon, and Chelsea donning swimsuits and causing a distraction at the beach, because nothing says deadly covert operation like a bikini montage. It's your obligatory anime fan service moment. And of course, it works. The Jaegers take the bait and the showdown begins. Esdeath splits her squad. She and Seryu go after Nagenda, while Kurome, Bowles, and Wave track down Akame and Mine. Mine takes a shot at Kurome, but Kurome dodges with anime-tier reflexes and plot armor. Susanoo launches Wave into the stratosphere with one punch, temporarily yeeting him out of the battle. Kurome, unfazed, whips out her Imperial arm, Yatsufusa, and summons a literal army of undead puppets, including a giant danger beast called a Destagol, because apparently her weapon is part Pokemon, part horror movie. Akame charges at her sister Kurome, but the fight quickly gets messy when Kurome resurrects one of Akame's old rivals as a puppet. What was meant to be a one-on-one turns into a chaotic brawl of dodging lethal attacks and slicing through reanimated corpses. Kurome unleashes a massive beam blast from her danger beast, and Night Raid barely dodges, leaving the landscape scorched and cratered. Up in a tree, Lubbock daydreams about confessing his love to Nagenda once they survive this mess. Classic death flag behavior if you know your anime tropes. Tatsumi fights a humanoid ape puppet, yes really, and then narrowly survives a sneak attack from a ghost-like assassin puppet saved at the last second by Incursio's armor. Meanwhile, Akame faces off against Bowles, the flame-throwing Jaeger. Just as she's about to land a killing blow, one of Kurome's undead puppets intercepts the strike, its corpse impervious to Akame's blade. Leon charges in to help but gets blasted back by another puppet, getting even more fired up in the process. And as Mine tries to line up another shot at Kurome, the Jaeger's personal bodyguard steps in, forcing Mine into a tense one-on-one standoff of gunslinger versus loyal protector. The Night Raiders are having a difficult time with Kurome's puppets, which she introduced as Donald the Gunslinger, Wool, a famous bodyguard, Ape Man, a muscle brain, Hentar, the last survivor of a savage tribe, Rokgo, an Imperial general and Nagenda's colleague, and lastly, Natala, Kurome's and Akame's childhood friend. Nagenda decided to help Leon, but Kurome uses the distraction to cut Leon's arm. The tension is high, and Kurome taunts Leon about how perfect she'd be as another puppet in her army. Nagenda warns Leone to calm down and assist Akame for now. Meanwhile, Tatsumi is getting his ass wiped by Ape Man and Hentar. Things take a turn when Chelsea, disguised, distracts the ghost, letting Tatsumi impale it. With Hentar gone, Tatsumi defeats Ape Man with ease. Mine snipes a dual pistol puppet, but Kurome summons a toad-shaped danger beast that swallows Mine whole. Meanwhile, Esdeath discovered something was fishy, but before they knew it, they got ambushed by bandits. She lets Seryu handle it. Nagenda faces her former colleague. He uses her mechanical arm to unleash real assault and kicks away his head like a football. She then kicks him away, and he gets burned in a Destigul blast that hits Suzanu's right arm. When asked why he was hit, he blames it on the asymmetrical lump on the beast's chest. Triggered by the imperfection, he activates Transcendent Mode, his body glowing gold. If activated 3 times, his master will die. With a single strike, Suzanu vaporizes the beast. After defeating Ape Man, Tatsumi moves on to Kurome and Natala. While fighting Natala, inside the toad's stomach, Mine fires Pumpkin's energy blasts, bursting free in a shower of gore. She emerges, drenched in slime, and accuses Tatsumi of looking at her like the tsundere she is. Suzanu and Nagenda arrive to help Tatsumi and Mine, while Akame and Leon team up to take down Bull's bodyguard. Leone charges Bulls, dodging flames with superhuman speed, but gets interrupted by Wool. She bites Rubicante's nozzle, disabling it. Bulls panics. With his bodyguard killed by Akame, he throws his Imperial arm in the air before detonating the weapon. The dust hasn't even settled from Bulls' fiery self-destruction, and already Night Raid and the Jaegers are licking their wounds and regrouping. Leon, who somehow tanks a point-blank explosion with a riot shield and sheer stubbornness, is battered but alive, proving once again that Night Raid's real secret weapon is plot armor and attitude. Bulls, the Jaegers' masked pyromaniac, stumbles through the forest, more worried about getting home to his wife and daughter than his own survival. Just as he's having a rare, wholesome moment, he finds a lost little girl with a scraped knee. Bulls, ever the softy beneath the gas mask, bandages her up and reassures her, only for the girl to stab him in the neck with a poisoned needle. Surprise! It's Chelsea, Night Raid's master of disguise, pulling off the ultimate stranger danger reversal. Bulls, realizing karma's come for him, doesn't even hold a grudge. He drags himself toward an imagined vision of his family, reflecting on his sins and accepting his fate. It's a surprisingly touching scene for a guy who just tried to barbecue half the cast. Chelsea, meanwhile, is standing on business. 1 down, 1 to go. Not content with just 1 assassination, she sets her sights on Kurome. Lubbock tries to talk her out of it, because, going solo against a drugged-up necromancer with a sword that makes zombies is generally a bad idea. But Chelsea's confidence and Imperial arms, Gaia Foundation, is as unshakable as her hairdo. While sitting alone and munching on her snacks, she recalls her and Akame's past. They were sisters born into poverty. As children, their parents sold them to the Empire, a decision that would shape their entire lives. The Empire forced them into a brutal survival exam. Along with other children, they were thrown into a forest full of danger beasts, and only a handful survived. After surviving the ordeal, the sisters were separated. Gozuki, the Empire's assassin trainer, believed it would be unhealthy for them to rely on each other. Akame, the stronger of the two, was placed in Gozuki's elite assassin squad, where she received intense espionage and combat training, eventually becoming one of the Empire's most effective killers. Kurome was sent to a different division, where she endured even harsher treatment. She was subjected to experimental drugs disguised as sweets, which enhanced her abilities, but left her with an addiction and deep psychological scars. Chelsea disguises herself as Bulls and sneaks up on Kurome while she's snacking. The secret to her power, apparently, is cookies and pharmaceuticals. Chelsea manages to stab Kurome with a poison needle, thinking she's won the day. But Kurome, running on pure willpower, rage, and possibly 90% prescription drugs, gets up and unleashes her remaining undead puppets on Chelsea. While running, she reflects on her assassin journey. Chelsea grew up under the rule of a cruel viceroy who enjoyed hunting people for sport. Living under this oppression made her increasingly cynical and nihilistic, believing that nothing she did could change the world. That changed when she discovered the Imperial Arm, Gaia Foundation, a powerful tegu that allowed her to change her appearance at will. Using this newfound power, Chelsea assassinated the viceroy and helped replace him with a kinder, more competent leader, a turning point that restored her hope and inspired her to join the revolutionary army. Chelsea tries to escape, but Kurome's puppets, Natala and the gunslinger, catch up. In a brutal and bloody scene, Chelsea is no more. When Akame and Tatsumi arrived for backup, it was already too late. Tatsumi lamenting how little time he had with fallen comrades like Chelsea, Akame and Mine drag him on a mission to infiltrate the Path of Peace's headquarters. At the headquarters, the Jaegers were sent by the minister to be Bowles' bodyguards. Bowles accepts the Jaegers' offer to protect him from intruders at the headquarters. Esdeath then requests accommodations for the Jaegers, which Bowles also agrees to. Bowles, the Empire's spy, deploys his elite hit squad, the 4 Rakshasa demons, to hunt Night Raid. Their mission, to be on the offensive since Esdeath and her team will be the defense. Kurome, still recovering from Chelsea's assassination attempt, locks herself in a room with Wave outside. She insists on fighting despite her shaky condition. Wave was concerned, but let's be real, Kurome's snack addiction is the real threat here. Tatsumi and Mine take a sweet break, grabbing ice cream while searching for wanted posters. They chat about the area's lively atmosphere and how Bowles is exploiting its religious sentiments for profit. Meanwhile, Lubbock's wandering the streets, lost in thoughts of an agenda, unaware that 2 assassins are secretly watching him, plotting his demise. Akame investigates an underground passage, only to have a demon unalive her soldiers. Despite this, Akame still manages to finish her food before taking a fighting stance. She gets angry when the demon tosses the soldier's severed head at her, causing her to attack. The demon uses body manipulation powers to dodge Akame's strikes and reveals they have been chugging Magic Lake broth to gain body manipulation abilities. Out on the streets, Lubbock finds himself ambushed by the 2 assassins who had been tailing him earlier. The sudden attack leaves him injured, but he plays dead by using his strings to stop his pulse. Their attention soon shifts to the rebel informant Lubbock was meant to meet, putting her in immediate danger. Seizing the moment, Lubbock launches a surprise counterattack, diverting their focus back to himself. Meanwhile, in Akame's battle, the assassin decides it's time to audition for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, unleashing a barrage of punches so fast you'd swear you heard a faint "Ora, ora, ora." He manages to tear up Akame's outfit with his rapid-fire fists, but she stays cool under pressure. In a clever move, she drops her sword, baiting the guy into grabbing it. The blade's poisonous touch starts messing him up immediately, giving Akame the perfect opening to reclaim her weapon and finish him off with one clean strike. And just like that, another overconfident anime brawler bites the dust. Back at Lubbock's fight, our green-haired wire wizard uses his threads to block the assassin's attacks like a budget Spider-Man. The male assassin smugly calls his strategy weak, but Lubbock casually reveals he wasn't even trying. He was just stalling so the rebel informant could make a clean getaway. Mission accomplished. He makes a break for it too. The guy isn't about to let him go though, and gives chase using his creepy body-contorting powers. But surprise! Lubbock was baiting him all along. He whips out his strongest thread, bringing the guy to an abrupt stop and finishing him off with a swift stab. One problem down. Of course, he's not out of the woods yet, because the female assassin is still there. And in classic, what even is this anime fashion, she powers up by stripping down and sweating everywhere, which somehow weakens Lubbock's threads. I guess you won't need a lubricant when it comes to her. She decks Lubbock in the stomach, grabs him by the collar, and looks ready to end him. But in true slick fashion, Lubbock yanks his threads back, sending hidden blades straight into her, finishing the job. 2 assassins down, one victorious Lubbock running off like it's just another Tuesday. While Night Raid's heavy hitters brawl, Mine and Tatsumi argue over souvenirs and encounter a cult member who ships them harder than FedEx. His pitch? The red string of fate binds you. Mine's response? I'll cut that string with my sniper rifle. Back at HQ, Bulat initiates a young disciple by demanding she strip for a cleansing ritual, the creepiest religion service ever. However, his assistant interrupts with news that the demons are dead, forcing Bulat to rely on the Jaegers. Esdeath, meanwhile, vows to crush an agenda because diplomacy is for cowards. The next day, while the Jaegers hunt Night Raid, Seiryu takes a break to play with schoolchildren, wave an eye patch lady. Seriously, who is this Sasuke cosplayer, and why is her eye patch glued to her chest? Watch from the shadows, marveling at Seiryu's rare smile. Plot twist. Seiryu and Sasuke have known each other for 2 days. Seiryu finishes playing with the kids and warns them to stay on the path of justice, or they'll meet her cannon. Meanwhile, back at the Night Raid hideout, the crew gathers to finalize their plan to take out Bulat once and for all. Susanoo swings by with dinner for everyone, proving even ruthless assassins need to eat. During the meal, it becomes hilariously obvious that Akame isn't just obsessed with slashing enemies, she's also got an insatiable appetite for meat. And no, not just Tatsumi's. Mine and Tatsumi dress as peasants to sneak into the capital. Seiryu and Sasuke spot them because disguises in anime are about as effective as sunscreen in a volcano. They manage to divert the enemy's attention, and the lovebirds kick it off, until it's ruined by a bombardment of missiles from Seiryu, who managed to track them. Tatsumi and Mine escape the attack using Incursio, but Sasuke attacks Tatsumi, leaving Mine to face Seiryu. Seriously, what size Koro can't take? Anyway, their fight becomes so intense that Seiryu decides it's time to play her trump card, unleashing a devastating attack that leaves Mine badly injured in the process. It's a brutal move that shifts the fight in Seiryu's favor, showing just how unhinged and dangerous she really is. Suzuka tells Tatsumi he's way too weak to stand a chance against her. Naturally, in anime, this bit of trash talk somehow gives Tatsumi a sudden boost of strength because anime plot convenience. Meanwhile, the rest of Night Raid is busy throwing hands with the Jaegers back at the capital. In the middle of all this chaos, Esdeath doesn't hold back, straight up telling Bulat that his demon scheme was absolute garbage. Yet another reason she proudly holds the title of Best Girl: brutal, beautiful, and not afraid to roast her own allies. Tatsumi lures Suzuka into the ruins and crushes her with falling debris. Is she dead? Who knows? Rocks in anime are about as lethal as a wet noodle. Meanwhile, Mine is having a flashback. The memory reveals her as a young orphan left to die on the streets, a moment that shaped her hardened tsundere personality. Mine manages to muster just enough strength to blast Koro and Seiryu with Pumpkin's full power, knocking her out. Just as Mine thinks she's won, Seiryu activates her Furnace of Hell self-destruct mechanism, screaming, "Justice will prevail." The explosion engulfs the battlefield, but Tatsumi swoops in with Incursio's wings, shielding Mine and carrying her to safety. While Akame and Lubbock assassinate Bulat off-screen because the anime's in a hurry, Negenda confronts Esdeath, teasing a showdown between the two military masterminds. And just like that, the Night Raid's mission was complete. Over at the capital, the bigwigs are busy plotting their next move against Night Raid when out of nowhere, Siura, who teleported Esdeath and Tatsumi to the deserted island, shows up with his minions, offering to help with their evil plans. Meanwhile, no one seems too bothered that Seiryu just exploded herself to death 5 minutes ago. In another room, Wave and Kurome awkwardly share a room like two co-workers stuck at a bad office party. Run drops the lovely bit of news that the Jaegers have now lost nearly half their squad. And just as things start getting serious, Kurome, in peak dramatic fashion, straight up passes out mid-conversation, because apparently, she wasn't fine. Meanwhile, Tatsumi and Lubbock are out on a mission to infiltrate the capital from above ground, while Mine and Leon take the sewers, cause sewers are totally stealthy route. While crawling through literal shit, Leone teases Mine about her sudden thirst for Tatsumi's cream, triggering a full-blown tsundere meltdown. Tatsumi and Lubbock meet a resistance informant who claims she can sneak them into the palace. Spoiler, she's working for Shura, who's turned the palace into a death trap. When they find a room of self-destructing corpses, Shura reveals he unleashed those danger beasts earlier because he was bored, making him the human equivalent of a toddler with a grenade. Just then, General Budu, All Might lookalike, the Empire's human lightning rod, enters. He wields Imperial arms, lightning god incarnate, summoning bolts of electricity like he's auditioning for a Thor reboot. Tatsumi's Incursion armor struggles to keep up as Budo zaps him with enough voltage to power a small city. Lubbock's duel with Shura is a chaotic mix of strategy and desperation. Shura gets juiced up and reveals that he can now teleport wherever he wants in the capital. Meanwhile, Esdeath strolls into the capital and freezes a few soldiers for fun. Lubbock tries jumping in the air, but Shura teleports in the air and smacks him down. Turns out he can mark the air as well. Tatsumi dodges electrified strikes, but gets overwhelmed by Budo's relentless attacks. In a last-ditch effort, he charges forward, only to be captured midway by Budo's lightning chains. This distracts Lubbock, and that girl tries to restrain Lubbock, and it doesn't end well for her. She gets killed almost instantly. Lubbock then manages to slice Shura's arm clean off, which seems like a win, until the dead chick from earlier suddenly comes back to life just to stab Lubbock before immediately dying again. Seriously, what kind of zombie DLC was this? In a last-ditch move, Shura activates his Tegu, teleporting them to a void. He mocks Lubbock, but the String Master retaliates by shaping Crosstail into a spear, stabbing Shura through the heart, mirroring how he killed Sten earlier. Both crash back into the capital. Shura dies midair while Lubbock's strings snap, sending him plummeting to his death. His final moments are bittersweet. Guess I'll never propose to Negenda. Not long after, Tatsumi gets himself captured by the capital, and a public execution is held. Now it is up to the Night Raid to save him. The now capital is prepping for a public execution of Tatsumi. Esdeath, still the queen of Yandere, visits her ice creamer in his cell and offers him a last-minute deal. Join her, be her man, and skip the whole dying thing. Tatsumi, ever the stubborn shonen hero, basically says, "I'd rather die than date you," which, let's be honest, is probably the bravest thing he's done all series. Back at the Jaeger base, Wave and Run have a little talk about how Esdeath's so obsessed with Tatsumi that she refuses to let anyone else kill him. Classic Yandere energy. Meanwhile, Kurome casually drops a massive death flag by saying she's running out of time, and she wants to kill her sister because she loves her. Meanwhile, the rest of Night Raid is in full rescue mode. Mine is ready to storm the execution solo, but Akame and Leon jump in, and Negenda calls an emergency "Let's Save Tatsumi" meeting. Their plan? Explosives, aerial attacks, and a healthy disregard for personal safety. As Tatsumi is about to become the Empire's latest headless poster boy, Mine fires a shot at Esdeath, kicking off the chaos. Negenda and Susanoo swoop in on a giant stingray, cause fishes can fly now, while Akame slices through guards to retrieve Incursion for Tatsumi. Budo brings down the flying danger beast with his hard lightning rod, forcing everyone to fight on the ground. Mine and Leon take on Budo, who's basically a walking thunderstorm. Esdeath and Negenda face off, with Susanoo taking the brunt of Esdeath's ice attacks. Esdeath freezes Susanoo, but Negenda uses her own trump card to revive and power him up for round 2. Susanoo, now glowing with main character energy. Meanwhile, Mine, battered and running on fumes, pushes Pumpkin, her Imperial arms to the limit, firing a shot so powerful it splits the clouds and finally takes Budo down. But the effort fries Pumpkin and leaves Mine critically wounded. Tatsumi, now free thanks to Akame, rushes to Mine's side. Negenda, seeing this, orders everyone to retreat. Susanoo, meanwhile, is left to battle Esdeath alone. He's frozen, stabbed, and has his core destroyed, but not before telling Night Raid to escape. Negenda pours all her energy into reviving him, but it's clear this is his final stand. In the sunset's glow, Mine confesses her love and shares a bittersweet kiss with Tatsumi, her first and last. She then collapses, her fate left heartbreakingly ambiguous, but we're used to it by now. The Night Raid is deep in grief mode. Mine is confirmed dead. Susanoo is gone, and everyone's morale is about as high as a danger beast's IQ. Tatsumi blows up at Najenda for letting Susanoo and Mine die just to save him, but Najenda hits him with the cold, the hard, "it was necessary to keep you alive" speech. Akame and Leon eventually manage to talk some sense into him, reminding him that if they give up now, everyone's sacrifice would be pointless. Tatsumi stops his dramatic protesting and agrees to stick with the cause. Later, Najenda takes a quiet moment to mourn Susanoo, while Tatsumi swears to honor Mine's dying wish to rid the world of intolerance, which is kind of hilarious considering she was one of the saltiest, rudest little gremlins in the squad when she was alive. Meanwhile, after trying to deal with a bunch of angry protesters, Run and Wave chat about how the revolution should be wrapping up soon. Though Run casually drops the, "Yeah, Kurome's probably not gonna make it" bomb like it's breaking news. Even though, let's be honest, with this show's death rate, it was about as surprising as Sunrise. Kurome herself mentions she's got one last important thing to do before everything goes down, which obviously means she's planning her inevitable showdown with Akame. And somewhere along the way, Esdeath massacres a squad of soldiers while hunting for the elusive Tatsumi. Back at the capital, the Emperor finally starts worrying that maybe he's a terrible ruler and people aren't exactly thrilled about it. Took him long enough. Of course, the king's advisor immediately pats him on the back, tells him he's doing great, and encourages him to show off his true power, because bad advice is basically this empire's specialty. Kurome, whose health bar is basically flashing red at this point, sends Akame a bloody invitation for a final showdown at their old stomping grounds, an abandoned church with more emotional baggage than a therapy convention. Akame, being the responsible sibling, tells Tatsumi she has to do this alone. Tatsumi tries to protest, but Akame tells him that she has plot armor, and then she heads out. At the church, the sisters share a snack, because nothing says "let's kill each other" like a quick lunch break. Kurome then launches into her classic, tragic backstory before I probably die speech, explaining how she and Akame were basically the murder version of Peanut Butter and Jelly, an unstoppable assassin duo back in the day. That is, until Akame ditched the Empire to join Night Raid and left Kurome clinging to abandonment issues and an unhealthy collection of corpse puppets. Naturally, the sister showdown kicks off right after, swords clashing, death flags waving. Meanwhile, when Wave realizes Kurome has gone missing, he predictably runs off after her. Because apparently being the only sensible person on the Jaegers means you're also doomed to clean up everyone's emotional messes. Just as things are heating up, a giant danger beast bursts onto the scene, because even the universe wants to delay this family feud. The sisters team up for old time's sake, slicing and dicing the monster before getting back to business. Wave, who's been crushing on Kurome, tries to break up the fight. Tatsumi intercepts him, arguing that this is between the sisters. Wave gets the message and, after a little bro-to-bro talk, steps aside so the showdown can continue. Rain starts pouring, because anime law says all tragic fights need dramatic weather. Akame and Kurome face off in a beautifully animated, emotionally charged sword fight. No zombies, no tricks, just pure skill and a lot of sisterly feels. In the end, Akame lands the fatal blow, and Kurome collapses, finally at peace. Akame hands Kurome's body to Wave, who's left wondering what the point of all this fighting was. Akame breaks down in tears on Tatsumi's shoulder, mourning her sister and the endless cycle of violence. The Prime Minister convinces the Emperor to unleash the Empire's ultimate weapon, a giant mecha, because when in doubt, go full robot apocalypse. Back at the Night Raid base, the remaining 4 members gather to discuss their final mission, taking down Minister Honest. Thanks to the capital's impressively bad security, Leon easily sneaks into the palace and links up with the others as they head straight for the Emperor's office. But before they can get there, they run into a group of guards. Before Night Raid even gets the chance to cut them down, Run appears and tells the guards to leave, insisting on handling this fight alone. Run then reveals his backstory, explaining that he was once a teacher whose students were kidnapped and murdered by the capital. When no one did a thing to stop it, he joined the Jaegers with the goal of tearing the Empire down from within. However, despite his hatred for the system, he viewed Night Raid's methods as too extreme, which is why he chose to stand against them. Leon volunteers to stay behind and fight run, while Tatsumi and Akame press forward to confront the Emperor. The final battles were officially underway. Inside, the Emperor is having a meltdown, and Honest is hyping him up like the world's worst life coach, convincing him to unleash the Empire's ultimate Plan B, the Mecha Imperial Arms, Shikotazer. Yes, the Emperor's solution to rebellion is to go full Gundam on his own city. Tatsumi and Akame bust into the Emperor's office, but Honest has his plot shield up and is burping mid-sentence like an evil Rick Sanchez. The Emperor, meanwhile, launches in Shikotazer and starts blasting the city, racking up a civilian body count that would make Seiryu jealous. Akame and Leone get sidetracked, so it's up to Tatsumi to stop the rampage. He tries to reason with the Emperor, but Honest's gaslighting is too strong. He's basically the devil on the Emperor's shoulder with a megaphone. Tatsumi's attacks bounce off Shikotazer like rubber darts. Just as things look hopeless, Wave shows up, finally realizing maybe mass murder isn't the best way to rule a country. He and Tatsumi try to talk sense into the Emperor, but Honest's "trust me, bro" energy is too much. Tatsumi remembers Suzanu's advice, every enemy has a weak spot, and goes full shonen protagonist, searching for it. He gets smacked down hard and has a near-death anime vision with Bulat, because even in death, Bulat's still the best motivational speaker. Inspired, Tatsumi's Incursio armor goes full dragon mode, sprouting wings and looking like he just unlocked a secret DLC. With one last heroic effort, Tatsumi delivers a massive blow to Shikotazer, finally defeating the mecha. But, plot twist, the giant robot is about to crush a crowd of innocent civilians. Tatsumi, being the self-sacrificing hero, uses the last of his strength to hold it back, saving the people but getting crushed in the process. Tatsumi's plot armor finally gives out. The main character is actually dead. Akame and the others mourn their friend, and the city is left in ruins. Meanwhile, Esdeath basically watches the whole thing from the sidelines. She coldly declares that Tatsumi died because he was too weak, sticking to her usual survival of the strongest philosophy. But for once, even she can't fully explain the strange emptiness gnawing at her now that the one person she cared about is gone. Meanwhile, the Revolutionary Army spots Esdeath standing alone, now the last soldier left fighting for the crumbling empire. Esdeath, annoyed by all the revolutionary riffraff, freezes a whole army with a flick of her wrist, because why settle for overkill when you can have super overkill? She builds a wall of ice. Akame, unfazed and fueled by vengeance, steps up for the final duel. Akame engages Esdeath in a fierce battle, with Esdeath gleefully welcoming the challenge of fighting someone who can actually keep up with her for once. Mid-fight, Akame questions Esdeath's motives and obsession with strength, but, true to form, Esdeath brushes her off and casually offers Akame a spot by her side. Unsurprisingly, Akame refuses. Esdeath coldly declares that if Akame won't join her, she'll die, because in her twisted worldview, that's just how things work. Akame fires back, insisting that human lives aren't meant to be trampled on, but Esdeath flatly admits she's never cared about people and never will. Their battle intensifies, and it quickly becomes clear that Esdeath holds the upper hand. She pins Akame down and taunts her, claiming the weak have no right to stand against the strong. Akame, refusing to give in, demands to know what Esdeath truly thinks of people's lives. Esdeath, with her trademark icy detachment, replies that the weak simply don't matter to her. Fueled by anger and resolve, Akame manages to break free. Akame then reveals her trump card. She slices her own skin with Murasame, activating its curse on herself. This gives her a demonic boost and the power of everyone she's slain with the sword. Talk about carrying emotional baggage. The tide turns. Akame's speed and strength skyrocket, and she finally lands a cut on Esdeath. Not to be outdone, Esdeath just lops off her own arm to stop the curse from spreading. Hardcore, even by villain standards. Esdeath, not one to lose gracefully, activates her ultimate move. She freezes time itself. She tries to finish Akame, but it turns out Akame's so fast she leaves after images. When time resumes, Akame is right above her, landing the final fatal blow. Mortally wounded, Esdeath doesn't rage or beg. Instead, she calmly walks over to Tatsumi's body, cradles him, and encases them both in ice, her last twisted act of love. The ice shatters and Esdeath disappears, leaving only snowflakes and a lot of unresolved shipping. While the main event rages, Minister Hannes tries to sneak out like the rat he is. Leon finds him, but he whips out his Imperial arms, which can break other Taegu. He shoots Leon, mortally wounding her, but she's not done yet. Leone tackles him and literally pounds his face into mush. Satisfied, she staggers off. With Honest's death, the war finally comes to an end. The Revolutionary Army claims victory, and the capital's citizens fill the streets in celebration. At the old palace walls, Akame and Leon meet one last time, quietly acknowledging that with Night Raid no longer needed, they'll be going their separate ways. They exchange farewells and part ways. Later, Leon, still suffering from the fatal wounds she received fighting Honest, walks into a quiet alley and passes away alone, content with the part she played in the revolution. The young emperor is sentenced to death by Najenda, held responsible for the countless lives lost and the destruction of the empire under his rule. Before his execution, he acknowledges his mistakes and asks Najenda to rebuild the country into a place without bloodshed. Najenda promises to fulfill that wish before the guillotine falls, ending his life. Afterward, Wave and Run visit Kurome's grave, promising to help rebuild the kingdom into something better than what it had become. Back in Tatsumi's hometown, the villagers gather after receiving financial support from the new government, finally free from hunger and hardship. They begin preparing to celebrate, still believing that Tatsumi, Sayo, and Ieyasu will one day return, unaware that none of them survived the war. After the war, Akame finds herself wandering alone through a barren desert. There, she's suddenly ambushed by a group of unknown fighters who seem to be Taegu users. Calmly, Akame reminds herself and her attackers that as one of the last surviving members of Night Raid, she carries the hopes and memories of her fallen comrades. With that, she prepares for battle, ready to face whatever threat comes her way.